Today, it's a great honor for me to welcome Mr. Rolf Holmboe. Mr. Holmboe is the High Representative, experienced European diplomat. European Union Advisory Mission actively cooperates with the institutions of higher education, with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, particularly with Odessa State University of Internal Affairs.
For me, it's been important to understand the threat.
Implementing European standards in education, professional culture and law enforcement.
Well, the simple answer is very important.
It's a great honor to know you personally for me.
Even in spite of the extreme difficult situation and the extreme difficulties that many Ukrainians are feeling and the loss and deprivation that they are feeling. For me to come to Odessa and visit our colleagues and visit our Ukrainian partners here in Odessa is always extremely important.
Greetings to everyone. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have this dialogue as the part of a scientific, innovative, informative research project, the space of successful people. The project brings together people from education, science, government, diplomacy, and expert community. Together we discuss important topics such as leadership, security, human rights, rule of law, professional values, and cooperation. Today, it's a great honor for me to welcome Mr. Rolf Holmboe, head of the European Union Advisory Mission in my project. Thank you so much, Mr. Holmboe, that you come and take part in my project. It's a great honor for me. A little information about Mr. Holmboe. Mr. Holmboe is the High Representative, experienced European diplomat with many years of expertise in foreign policy, crisis management, security missions, and conflict resolutions. Over the years, he had key diplomatic posts, including serving as Denmark's ambassador to several countries, and has also worked in strategic planning and international stabilization program. His professional career spans various regions, including states facing significant security challenges and complex political dynamics, which has shaped his unique expertise in international security, crisis management, diplomacy, public administration, and supporting reforms in challenging environments. Mr. Holmboe, let's start with quick questions and answers as a series of key questions that will help shed light on your professional outlook, values, and approach to international leadership. Of course, I know that you spent a lot of time in Kiev, in the capital of Ukraine, but today we are in Odessa. And may I ask you, how close to you is Odessa as a city, its atmosphere, its people, and unique energy?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. The EUAM, the EU Advisory Mission to Ukraine, is not just a mission in Kiev. So I'm the head of the mission. My headquarters is in Kiev, but we have a field office in Lviv, we have a field office in Odessa, and we have a mobile unit in Dnipro, Poltava. For me to come to Odessa and visit our colleagues and visit our Ukrainian partners here in Odessa is always extremely important. For the simple reason that we try to be supportive of our Ukrainian partners in all parts of the country. So to come here and to engage on the various challenges and help our partners here with the huge, massive wartime tasks they are facing, that is rewarding, not just for me, but for our mission to become or to stay relevant, a relevant partner for our Ukrainian partners.
Thank you. What personal qualities do you value most today, both in professional setting and in your personal interactions?
Well, I mean, being the head of EUAM Ukraine, there's one thing that you learn, that is that nothing stays static. The situation changes all the time.
Yes.
So the qualities that I believe that you need is one of being on the ball all the time, in the sense that you are always proactively ahead of the situation. You try to understand what the situation is. You try to understand how the situation is evolving. We talk about the security situation, that we can make measures to ensure that not only the safety and security of our staff, but also the ability for them to continue functioning. That's the one part. The other part is really flexibility. I mean, with a situation that is so dynamic as the one we have in Ukraine and the one in Odessa, we basically also need to be able to adapt to the priorities and needs of our Ukrainian partners. So that's important.
Thank you. How do you see the key balance in the role of international mission leader between strategic vision and coordination responsibilities?
Well, basically, my headquarters in Kiev, things in Odessa is happening 600 kilometers away. But we would be nothing if we were just top down. So if we just gave strategic leadership but didn't get the input from the ground, we would not be nearly as effective. So it has to be, the strategic level thinking on how we support our partners has to marry a little bit, with the input from the ground. What are the needs? How are the needs evolving? How are the priorities evolving? Because without it, then we are not being as relevant a partner for our Ukrainian partners as we should be.
Thank you. Is working in Ukraine a continuing of your previous international experience or a new level of challenges?
I mean, basically, I have an army background. I'm still an army reserve officer. As ambassador of Denmark, I have gotten around to a number of conflict areas. Worked on Afghanistan, worked in Pakistan,
I know.
Mali, Palestine, Gaza, Syria, Bosnia, Croatia, actually, back in the war times, you learn from every post you are at, but the challenges here are different, and the scale of the challenges is very different. It is the largest war in Europe since the Second World War, so it is. But we have to keep learning. We have to bring to the table the experiences we have from before, but we also have to realize that they are not fully applicable, to Ukraine. We have to rethink things, and we have to redevelop and keep developing things as the situation.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you. In your experience, what carries more weight in complex decisions? Strategic considerations or human dimension?
Well, I mean, one would not function well without the other.
Yeah.
I mean, a strategic direction would be to launch a nuclear war, but if you don't think about the losses of it, then you have lost your touch with what is going on. It has to be both. When the EU engages in Ukraine, we do so for Ukrainians. We do so to help protect Ukraine from aggression. We do so to help Ukraine not only to win the war, but also to come into the European Union. So that's very much a focus on being supportive of the Ukrainian people in their aspirations with regard to winning the war and joining the European Union.
Thank you.
So it marries, basically.
Yes. How would you describe Ukraine today? As an example of resilience or as a process of profound transformation?
I mean, there's no doubt that Ukraine is showing a remarkable resilience in the face of outright and full-scale aggression against the country, being able to win battles, to be able to push the enemy back, to stabilize the front, to keep the country operating, even under a strategic bombing campaign, to keep the energy system operating under this last winter's strategic bombing campaign is remarkable. So all of these things are hugely important. But resilience is not just one part of it. The ability to transform is also part of resilience. I mean, to basically keep developing, keep adjusting to what is happening, but staying very close to the wishes and the focus of the people when the war joined the European Union.
Thank you. What was the deciding factor in your choice of a diplomatic and international career?
Well, I mean, I think I always wanted to join and do foreign affairs. When I was very young, I joined the army, became a reserve officer. But even with that career, I knew that I wanted to join the foreign service. So on top of my officer's education, reserve officer's education, I took political science. I read Arabic studies as well. At that time, from the army, I speak Russian. you combine some of the competencies you get from different areas.
Yes,
but my focus has always been on foreign affairs, on engaging with partners outside of our own country, but for the benefit of both countries.
In your opinion, what key professional skills did you acquire as a result of working in regions with high level of conflict and complex security dynamics?
One thing on security is that you need to understand the threat and how these threats evolve. So you need to constantly evaluate and analyze the security situation so you can take the mitigating measures necessary to keep your staff safe, but also for them to be able to keep operating in theater. In the army, I was an arms control inspector. So you have a focus on weapons and weapon systems. And for me, it's been important to understand the threat coming from the sky, the drones, the missiles, the types of missiles, how they work, because that's the basis for understanding how we can mitigate the threat and how we can keep operating inside the country. But without understanding, without really keeping a full eye on the security situation and how it evolves, we would not be meeting the challenges that we face.
Yes, you're absolutely right. What qualities, in your view, are essential for an international expert in the context of global instability?
Basically, I mean, it's necessary for, I think, anybody who deals with difficult areas or conflict areas to remain very flexible. I mean, you need flexibility, you need the ability to understand the threat situation you have in wherever you serve, because if you don't understand the threat situation, the stress factor on you will be so much greater. If you understand the stress, the sort of security situation, you can understand what you can do to mitigate those, and then your stress level is already less. So you need to understand the security situation. You also need to understand the conflict dynamics, because without understanding the conflict dynamics, you can't be a partner to our Ukrainian partners in supporting them to meet them. So the conflict dynamics are also hugely important to understand. And then, of course, to build a network, to build the trust, whereby we can serve and help our partners in their challenges as best as possible. And of course, building the links all the time, being a European Union mission, build the links to Europe and to the European Union, so that Ukraine, which is now entering the phase where it integrates into the European cooperative structures, can do so more easily, and we can facilitate the Ukrainian integration into Europe in a lot of different aspects.
The European Union Advisory Mission in Ukraine brings together an international team of experts from 23 European Union member states and Ukraine, who work daily in various regions of the country. How would you describe the strategic importance of this team as a powerful professional mechanism supporting Ukraine in the process of democratic transformation and strengthening the rule of law amid current security challenges?
We are the largest European Union mission in country. We have what we call an authorized strength of 462 persons operating inside Ukraine. That is a huge asset.
Yes.
It is an asset for the European Union. It is also an asset for Ukraine, because basically we're here to help Ukraine in its reform processes toward the EU accession and in meeting the massive wartime challenges. We're not actually 23, we're now 25 EU member states plus 2 non-EU member states, Canada and Norway. And basically this representation of the EU member states working inside Ukraine is also very important. I mean, our mission members, they also take those impressions and those needs and priorities back to their countries. So it helps with the dialogue, it helps sort of build and galvanize the willingness of the member states and of the European Union to keep supporting Ukraine in its difficult situation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this. EUAM, European Union Advisory Mission, operates amid a full-scale war, supporting reforms in the civil security sector, law enforcement, the judicial system, and anti-corruption infrastructure. What are the main challenges facing the mission under these conditions?
Well, you have different challenges. I mean, obviously, in the reform processes, there will always be those who try to oppose reforms. And that's a challenge for the country, because the ambition of the country, as expressed by President Zelensky, expressed by the government, is to try to integrate into, become member of the European Union as fast as possible. For that to happen, we need reforms to progress fast. So, because those reforms is part of the merit-based sort of approach to accession. It's you have to implement something known as the EU acquis, which is the EU directives. They have to be implemented. All EU member states have implemented them in the national legislation, but you also have to meet the EU standards, and you have to align to the EU values, because that is what ties us all together: democratic governance, political control, accountability, transparency, and anti-corruption. Because it's the basis of building a prosperous Europe. If there's corruption, you don't have a prosperous state. Without corruption, you can build a good basis for investments, for working together, for across the borders, and building the economic and thereby also the social strength of the country. But it's all built on these values.
How do you view the importance of coordination between European and Ukrainian institutions for the effectiveness of the reforms?
That's hugely important. Because Europe is not just about a number of countries in some sort of union. Europe is about working together. If there's a challenge, let's say on hybrid threats, you will have cooperative structures, or you will have agencies that work on this together, where all the EU member states come together and work on this challenge. So basically, Ukraine needs to plug into all of these corporations, whether it's like Eurojust is the European corporation in the field of justice, Europol in the field of police, law enforcement work. You have Frontex, borders, migration, those issues. You have a center of excellence on hybrid threats in Helsinki. So there's a lot of different European cooperative structures, and we need to help Ukraine to plug into these and become part of those. It will benefit Ukraine, but it will also benefit Europe, because in certain instances Ukraine has galvanized more experiences and has developed more competences than is now present in Europe. So it's a win-win situation. We can learn from Ukraine, Ukraine can learn from us, and Ukraine can benefit from being integrated into the EU cooperation.
Yes. Given European Union advisory missions' significant contributions to supporting the investigation of international crimes, how do you assess the importance of this work for upholding justice and strengthening the international legal order?
For the European Union as a whole, the international legal order that was built after the Second World War is hugely important. It's the basis for peace and security and prosperity all around the globe. If that collapses, we will be plunged into a middle-aged anarchy, which will benefit nobody, and it will certainly take away from prosperity. It will not make it possible for Ukraine, for instance, to gain the prosperity like the other European countries. So the international order, which protects us all, from aggression or from war crimes, that is a key part of the stable world order that was built after 1945. And for that to happen, if there is alleged war crimes or international crimes, those 4 international crimes that are grouped under the Rome Statute, then they must be investigated. And if there are cases, they should be prosecuted. They can be prosecuted in different ways. They can be prosecuted at the special tribunal. for the crime of aggression in Ukraine, which is one of the 4 international crimes. And basically, that is a special court for this purpose. There's also the International Criminal Court. A lot of war crime cases would probably go to court here in Ukraine. But to uphold accountability for crimes is hugely important. If we don't hold ourselves accountable, for crimes, then everything disintegrates. Just think about it. If you live in a city and people murdering other people are not punished, what would happen? It will be anarchy. It will be chaos. So without the international order, the post-Second World War international order, without accountability for crimes, we are just plunging the world into chaos.
What principles guide you in managing of multinational team of international and Ukrainian experts?
Yeah, we have 25 EU nations, we have 2 non-EU nations, and we have Ukraine. Actually, you would think that it would give more challenges. But actually it does not. It's a richness for the mission. We get different perspectives, we get different competences, we get a cross-fertilization of competences among mission members. And remarkably, on the cultural side, there's very much seeing eye to eye about the same values, about the same outlook. In that sense, all of the countries, even though Canada is one of them, are all European. So that makes it sort of easy. Of course, there's differences. Some have some wishes and some priorities. Others have others. But it's remarkably cooperative of getting a mission of basically 28 different nations to work together.
Thank you. European Union Advisory Mission actively cooperates with the institutions of higher education, with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, particularly with Odessa State University of Internal Affairs. In your opinion, how strategically important is such cooperation for training a new generation of law enforcement officers, as well as for implementing European standards in education, professional culture, and law enforcement?
Well, the simple answer is very important. The whole thing is that there's a lot that we can work with the existing structures, for instance, on new methods, new operational tools. All of that is easy. But Europe is all about, converging on certain values, certain standards of how we do things and how we do operations and how we implement things. And all of that, is learned a little bit, in the interaction with other partners and colleagues in Europe. So that, if you want mindset, that has to, come in when you start as a cadet at an academy or at one of the Ministry of Internal Affairs universities. That has to start there. So the learning institutes, the Odessa State University of Internal Affairs, the other ones, Vita Prostova, the National Academy, the other regional universities, they're really important partners to make sure that the young people coming in, into the services, they are already prepped in this way of thinking, in this way of operating, and in having an open mindset to the cooperation and to being, inspired by how other countries in Europe handle things.
Thank you. How do you see the further development of the partnership between Ukraine and the European Union in the areas of security, the rule of law, and institutional transformation?
In all of them, it will be hugely important. When we talk about security, that is already now a shared challenge. Ukraine, of course, European Union is the biggest supporter of Ukraine in its war efforts, more than 200 billion euro. Up until this point, more is on its way. But the whole point is that security is a joint effort. It's something we do together, whether it is external on the military front or whether it is internal with regard to the civilian security sector. And in Europe, you have national police forces, you have national investigating bodies, but they all work together. And they work closely together, and they work also together in Europol, Eurojust, in the various agencies that cover various aspects of this cooperation. So this is hugely important. On the rule of law, the rule of law is one of the key European values. Without the rule of law, a country cannot really be prosperous. The rule of law ensures, for instance, I'm from Denmark, if a Danish investor comes to Ukraine and there's an issue, then you could take that to court and you would have an objective adjudication within a sort of fairly normal time frame, and you could be assured of the rule of law in that sense. That's the basis for being able to attract investments and partnerships into Ukraine. So in all areas of cooperation, underpinning all parts of government, the rule of law, democratic governance, political control, democratic oversight, they are hugely important because it is what ties Europe together and makes us a little bit different from, for instance, your neighbor.
Mr. Holmboe, what does leadership in international institutions mean to you?
Leadership is hugely important, and leadership should also be understood in a modern way. Leadership is not just top-down. It's not just that you give an order, you expect it to be executed. Leadership in a modern world, in a modern society, is also a little bit of a negotiation. I would always say as a leader, if I don't get the input from the bottom, if you want bottom-up input, I would not be giving good strategic leadership top-down. So the top-down leadership would have to, meet with the leadership from the bottom. I mean, basically giving the input, giving the lessons learned, and fielding them in, to the debate and in the sort of planning of operations or planning of development. Without it, leadership is nothing. So leadership is a two-way street. Otherwise, it will never achieve the level of excellence and of effectiveness that it needs to have.
Thank you. How do you assess the role of Ukraine's institutions of higher education in shaping a generation of professionals capable of working in accordance with the European standards?
I mean, the institutions of education at all levels in Ukraine, I see at a very high standard, at a very high level. And I think they play a key role in preparing Ukraine for the future of tomorrow. Of course, Ukraine had a historical past in the Soviet Union, in a post-Soviet situation. Now it is steadfastly moving ahead to a European future. For that, all of the educational institutes, starting from the schools, moving up, would play a key role for Ukraine to, really join the European Union and benefit from this fully. And there's one issue I always take up and always say, because it is important. I mean, there are some things that tie Europe together, but one of them is language.
Yes.
Because being able to speak English or French will allow you to, to understand Europe, to access information, to engage with other people without translation or without the dubbed text.
Yes, yeah.
In Denmark, in television, we have text, but we don't dub films for the simple reason that, then you don't get to understand the language and the feelings that go into the language. So language is a very important door opener to understanding, the rest of Europe and to being able to interact with Europe.
How does working in Ukraine during this historical period mean to you personally?
For me, even in spite of the extreme difficult situation and the extreme difficulties that many Ukrainians are feeling and the loss and deprivation that they are feeling, we are talking about a front line more than 1,200 kilometers long, military operations ongoing now for more than 4.5 years, the largest displacement of people in Europe since the Second World War. Even in spite of that, I would say it's rewarding. First and foremost, because I can see it, we are able to actually do something that means something and that changes something in support of our Ukrainian partners in those challenges. And we could do something that means something to Ukrainians in helping Ukraine to get over the obstacles, get over the challenges there are to reforms and to moving ahead on the EU accession path as fast as possible. And when your work, gives meaning and it gives benefits to somebody, then you get a job satisfaction. So for me, it's been extremely rewarding to be here, extremely rewarding to work with Ukrainians, to experience the resilience and the determination to win through and come through this stronger and better and in a European future. That's been a huge pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Holmboe, how important is the coordination of international aid for achieving tangible results in strengthening Ukraine's resilience and bringing about a just and sustainable peace?
There's a lot of international aid and assistance and partnerships coming into Ukraine. If it is not properly coordinated, then there's a risk that there's overlaps, but there's also gaps. There's areas where there's no support, no partnership, and areas where there's, if you want, too much. And also opportunities to create synergy and complementarity of efforts might be lost. So the coordination of the partnerships is extremely important. Ukraine has now created 18 what is known as sectoral working groups, and they basically coordinate the partners and the agencies that work in a given area. In our area, we have the sectoral working group on law enforcement, and that groups together all of the agencies and the institutions under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, together with the partners that are working in engagement and in partnership with the Ministry of Internal Affairs in those areas. It's led by Deputy Minister Katerina Pavlichenko from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and it's co-chaired by the US and by myself. And this partnership of a chair, Ukrainian chair, and partners that are co-chairing is a good constellation of trying to help to galvanize the needs, priorities, but also on the strategic basis, developed by the government, by the policy priorities developed by the government, and trying to find out who does what and how do they do it. And if there's overlaps, try to deconflict them. If there's gaps, try to find somebody who can be partner in this. So coordination is hugely important. Imagine if you go into war and you have 5 units and they're not coordinated, it would be chaotic. It's the same here. We need to be coordinated in our partnerships, working together towards Ukraine's priorities and needs in this situation.
Mr. Holmboe, thank you so much for this interview and your answers. I would also thank you for your significant contribution to Ukraine, for your work, leadership, and support during this difficult time of our country. Your answers are very valuable for the academic and professional community, for Ukrainian society and international experts. It's a great honor to know you personally for me. I wish you success, strength, resilience, and new achievement in your important work. And my small present for you, it's a gratitude to the head of the European Union Advisory Mission for high level of professionalism, responsible leadership, significant contribution to supporting Ukraine, strengthening international partnership, promoting the rule of law, and his dedicated work in defense of democratic values and security. For you, Mr. Holmboe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.